in, so I thought I shouldn't leave them for the kids during the week. It's a weekend treat, so
Oh,
I was
bless them.
thinking of them and their health when I took them with me. I'm at my mum and dad's up north, so good. Do we have everybody? Not bad at all, is it? Well done, everyone.
Mm.
And even have Kate, which is lovely. Kate, when were you last in the office? When did you last see everybody?
Ooh, I was last in 2 weeks ago. I don't even know.
Oh,
Yeah, the
nice.
27th of April, but it was a Monday, so I didn't actually see that many people because
Oh,
nobody's in on a Monday. But we had a little sort of team lunch, which was really nice.
oh,
So,
excellent. Good. Are you seeing enough of people for your extrovert to be
yes,
happy?
as I had a 4-year-old in my house yesterday and had to entertain them. And I'm not experienced the ways of 4-year-olds. They were here for about 2 hours. She came with her whole foster family, and they went home, and Chris and I were shattered for the rest of the day. So, yeah, those small doses is more than enough for now.
Building up your stamina.
Hopefully.
You had a baby overnight, didn't you, Claire, at the weekend?
Oh, yes, I did. A 7-month-old,
Oh.
which I can tell you was a complete shock to the system. She's teething.
Oh.
And so, yeah, it was like 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4:30, 10 to 6, we were done. I was like, right, we're getting up now. So,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
With the baby, you get the naps in the day, but then with the 4-year-olds, it's like full on all throughout, isn't it? And then
then hopefully
hopefully,
it's 7 till 7.
yes, hopefully they conk out.
Yeah.
Abby, how's your family life going? Oh, I can't hear you.
I'll unmute. There you go.
No.
No.
Who's together?
Matt,
Beth,
Matt, turn
Rich,
your microphone
Abby.
on. Abby, turn yours off and it should work. Matt, turn your microphone on.
Yeah, mine's
Or
on.
Beth, yeah, that does it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I muted it.
Hello.
There you go.
Yes, we are moving house on Thursday.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, so my house has been quite stressful. My wonderful neurodivergent children are struggling a lot with the whole change and everything. So the 7-year-old has moved out. He's gone to my mum's because he feels much safer there, which is absolutely fair enough. And the 10-year-old is still at home but crying a lot. So there's a lot of like it's really exciting, but also they're really scared about the whole thing. So
Yeah.
by this time next week, they'll be grand. We'll all be in, and
Yes. Yeah.
this week is a little bit.
It's the in-between stages that
mm,
are often the hardest, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and it's people touching their stuff. Because
Yeah.
the packers that are coming to do it all for us because I don't like packing. Which is great for me, but for them it's weirdos touch.
Mm,
So
yeah.
it'll be all right.
Transition stages
Yeah.
can be really hard. And we will come on to that in the Developing Others tool today. There's a lovely link. I wonder whether you are as excited about the Developing Others tool as we are. We love this tool. It's so great. And I always go, oh, I love this tool. So I'm looking forward to getting on to that. But first, we will recap and we will do a little mix of those tools as well. So I hope you all got to do the altitude sessions in prep and you've got some thoughts already spinning round. But I always aim in these times when we recap to also give you something slightly different or slightly new in how we think about it as well. So we're going to launch in now with the Bible focus, which will give us something slightly new in terms of just a way of looking at these tools. So here's the sort of verses that came to mind for today. The first one is this: as leaders, there's no one you can really follow who has been a better leader in terms of the four influence model codes than Christ himself, than Jesus himself. If you think about competency, credibility, chemistry, and character, Jesus had it all in spades. And I think a really good example where you see that is right at the end of John's Gospel in John 21. And of course, Jesus had built up this band of disciples, the three best friends, and then the 12, and then on the 72. And what we see throughout Jesus' ministry is him demonstrating his credibility as the Son of God, fulfilling scripture. We see him showing his competency, particularly in the way that he taught, so that even his enemies were really taking him seriously as a teacher. And others in the crowd were saying, "We have never heard someone speak like this. He has such authority." His parables were just such amazingly groundbreaking, breathtaking examples of clarity in how to get a message across. So credibility through the prophetic, him showing that he fulfilled prophecy from centuries before, competency in the way that he taught in particular. And then we have his character. Yeah, no one could say that he was a bad person because the way he responded in all sorts of situations where most of us would betray our worst traits at some point, they'd come out. He just showed himself to be consistently patient, consistently kind, consistently treat men and women equally, which was completely without precedent, consistently honest, consistently faithful. He did what he said he'd do. And then we have the chemistry as well. And sometimes that's the surprising one, is that we see him with real humor. We see him doing amazing things. So when I think of Jesus reinstating Peter, we think of how Peter had really messed up. You know, the cock crowed 3 times, just as Peter was denying that he even knew Jesus when Jesus was in his moment of suffering going to the cross. But what does Jesus do afterwards, after he's risen from the dead? He says to Jesus, he says to Peter, he goes and meets him on the beach, first of all. And he does that thing he's done before. And there's such chemistry in what he does. He shouts over to the guys in the boat fishing, because Peter and the disciples had gone back to fishing, hadn't they? Because they thought it was all over. He shouts to them, "Throw your net on the other side," because they hadn't caught a thing all night. They were so discouraged. And they threw their net to the other side and it was filled with fish, immediately filled with fish. I mean, I love it because it's fish analogy. So it goes with our salmon theme. But also, how competent is that? He knew where the fish were. He knew where the fish were. Incredible. He shows once again that he has this supernatural power. Peter dives into the sea and just starts pelting towards Jesus. And what's Jesus doing? He's got a barbecue going. He's got fish. He's got fresh bread. He's creating this incredible connection space for him and his best friends to reconnect after the resurrection. How fun is that? Can you imagine anything better than a barbecue on the beach in the morning as the sun comes up, you know, with your best friend? It was just incredible. He really took care. He doesn't just prioritize the business. He doesn't just prioritize the kind of character stuff, the kind of morality piece, or the trustworthy stuff that can be quite bread and butter. He goes over and above. And then he asks Peter 3 times, "Do you love me? Look after these guys for me. Look after my people. Look after my people." 3 times he gets to say it, which more than compensates for Peter's 3 denials. Like thorough, wonderful, beautiful, all 4 C's demonstrated in that story. And the developing others square, perfectly reenacted as well. Jesus was passing the baton on to Peter, but he wasn't leaving the scene. He was helping. He was reminding Peter who he was, and he was watching. "I will always be with you, even to the end of the age," he says. So he's just the perfect leader to show us how to develop someone else, because he has all 4 C's. So that's how I've woven those 2 together, is in that example from John 21, but might be a lovely one to go and have a little look at yourself, just to see how he does it. Because the more we as leaders follow Jesus' example, the more we will be able to have that blueprint, that example for how to fulfill perfectly the 4 influence model codes and to develop others thoroughly as well. He's a great example, so I commend him to you all. So, first of all, we're just going to recap the theme for the influence model core process session, which is where we think about the 5 circles of influence. So you were asked to think about the 4 codes, firstly in terms of yourself, then in terms of your family loop, and then in terms of your team. So I wonder how you got on with yourself. And did you think about how you are treating yourself in relationship to those 4 C's? So have a feel around and give yourself a rating out of 5 if you haven't done it already. So, to what extent are you helping yourself to grow your competency? Are you allowing yourself the time to go and train or to research any gaps you might have rather than carry around a sense of incompetence that just gets in your way and undermines your confidence? Are you taking the time to make sure that you are equipping yourself with competence and credibility as well? Are you making sure that you are honest with yourself about the qualifications that you have and how relevant they are? Are you reminding yourself that you are qualified for the roles that you've taken on? So, what is your self-talk like? Are you putting yourself down and trying to think about what you're saying to yourself inside your head? And then your character as well. Are you actually doing what you say you'll do for yourself? Are you putting in the diary some self-care and then letting it be superseded by other people's needs? If so, you're not being honest with yourself. You're not being kind to yourself. You're not being faithful to yourself. And then finally, the chemistry piece. Are you allowing yourself a bit of time to have some fun as well? Okay. Are you building chemistry with yourself? How is your self-talk going? I think self-talk is really powerful for all 4 Cs in the middle circle of the 5 circles of influence. So I've said to you before, I'm really trying to cultivate a self-talk that is kind, that says, well done, Laura, well done. Keep going, love, keep going. I've heard myself at times, at my best, I've heard myself say things like that. Well done, love, keep going. You did well there. You did well. You held that in. Well done. Okay, so thinking about, or you advocated for yourself, the opposite of holding things in. You advocated for yourself there. You stuck up for yourself, but you did it well. You did it gently. Well done. So how's your self-talk going? That's a really, really good indication of how we're doing with the 4 Cs in the middle circle of influence. Then we go to family. So which of those 4 is needed for your family? So for me, I felt that my chemistry was my work on for myself, allowing myself to have fun, which I am trying to step into. And then the family space as well. Which aspect there am I undermining with my family and which aspects am I doing well? So I think sometimes with my family, character can really be there for most of the time. And then in a moment of frustration, I feel that I can destroy that good character because I might be impatient or say something I didn't mean. And then I have to go and do reverse gear and say sorry. And that's okay. But I'd love to be able in the moment to just hold my tongue and perhaps take myself away. So character in this area of family for me. And then in the area of team, when I looked at this a couple of years ago, I looked back on my notes recently, I put down competency in the area of team. And it was just that sense of actually thinking, okay, what exactly do I need? So sometimes Lucy comes in to work with me on a Monday and I'm right up against my blog deadline and I haven't got it ready for her for that Monday session. And that undermines my competency. So I've gone away since having re-looked at this again, and I've gone and put in the prep times to make sure that my blog is drafted in advance of having Lucy to come and do the editorial work with me so that we're not up against the deadline and I'm undermining my own competency in my own eyes and in my eyes of my team. So have a little think there, out of 5 for each of those 3 areas. How are you doing? Or alternatively, can you identify which of the 4 Cs perhaps needs a bit more focus in those 3 areas of self, family and team? So we'll be sharing those with one another shortly. And then in a little while, we'll be thinking about the core process in relation to that. So log that data that you prepared in advance for that first section. And then we move on to the second tool to complete this week. And that's the developing others square. And I'll show you how these map together. But in essence, it's if we are modeling the 4 Cs, character, chemistry, competency, and credibility, how do we then pass on those things that we are learning, those things we are modeling, those things we're trying to show are important leadership characteristics to the rest of our team? So what do? Well, we start off by allowing someone the opportunity to watch. So you might have a teammate, you've had them for ages, and they are really good at doing their thing, but actually you've realized through doing all of this leadership investment that you need to start stretching them, give them a stretch goal. So you might say to them, for example, right, I want you to get to a place where you feel you can lead the team meeting or you feel you can lead on this project. So you start off by modeling, letting them see. So I do, you watch. Okay, so we're going to have a team meeting and you can watch me, but I want you to pay attention to how I lead the meeting. I'm not going to ask you to do anything this time. So in that I do, you watch space, they won't know that they aren't going to do it very easily. They don't know how hard it is because you make it look easy. Whatever that thing is, you make it look easy because you've practiced it and you do it really well. You may not think you do, but you do. They don't know how hard it is and they don't know yet that they're going to struggle to do it. They're just watching you. That's the foundation stage. So let them watch. If it's a skill that you aren't showing or there's not an opportunity for you to model, send them to go and watch someone else doing it, either in Bible Society or in the world at large. So maybe there's someone outside of Bible Society in another organization, or maybe you can find a YouTube video with an example of someone doing that thing that you want them to be doing in a way that you think is highly competent. So think about that. So just think about that foundation stage. How good are you at letting people watch? Okay, so maybe you give yourself a mark out of 5 there if you like to weigh things. It's always good to measure. Next, we're going to the second stage, and this is immersion. This is where they start to roll up their sleeves and get stuck in. I do, you help. So this is where you give them something to do. Not the most important role, so probably wouldn't get them to head and foot the meeting if that's what you're trying to teach them to do, but they can do a section of it. Okay, we've got 4 items on the agenda. I want you to lead the discussion for item 3. You've got 5 minutes. Here's the key questions we want to look at. You lead the discussion. So they're going to help. They're going to muck in. They're going to lead an aspect of it. And that's where they become aware that it's hard. That's where their heart starts to beat a little bit inside their chest. And they realize, actually, this isn't as easy as she makes it look or he makes it look. It's actually harder than I think. And that's where they can be in danger of falling into the pit of despair. And the pit of despair is a thing. If you've never been into it, I'm really glad for you. But we probably all have in some areas. Steve uses the example of learning to drive. When you first start to try to drive and you're like, what am I doing? This is really hard. But we can find ourselves in there in all sorts of ways. Even if we look on the outside as though we've done a decent job of leading our 5 minutes of the agenda item, it might have taken so much energy and we might have given ourselves such a hard time that it didn't go so well that we might feel like we never ever want to do it again. We can land in the pit of despair. You can land in the pit of despair just trying to pack to go on holiday for a family. You can be like, oh my word, is it worth it? This is a disaster. Everyone's arguing. This is a pain. So some of you are going through different transition times at the moment. You can appreciate that the pit of despair is never that far away. But this is where, as a leader, we have to hang in there. And this is where we have to say, and this is the point actually where I often go and get the tool out and show them. I go, mate, don't worry. This is what it is. It's just the pit of despair. It's got a name. It's a thing. Everybody has it. It's not personal to you. Look where you are. Look how far you've come. We're there. And the idea here, the important thing is to keep on going, to move from immersion to empowerment, to coach them carefully through that stage. You might even want to say in advance, this is where you could end up, but actually always trying to give them a language for it. That's kind. Then they move to the conscious competency piece. This is where they start to build conscious competence. They have another go and they start to think, I've just learned something that works there. Okay. It's where we pass the baton from us holding the baton with them helping to them leading, and we are still there to help. So when we're helping, and you may move, these stages aren't complete. You may well move back and forth around a corner a number of times. So you do, I help, you stick around, you muck in, and this is where you need to be very conscious of the clock in the middle of the tool. It takes real time, years even sometimes, to be able to help somebody to the point where they are then able to move beyond empowerment stage into the multiplication stage where they are unconsciously competent and we can literally applaud. Now, you've noticed that before we move from stage 3 to stage 4, there's an extra aspect in this updated tool that you may not have seen. If you've watched the clip on the toolkit, and I'd be really impressed if you have, I'm just going to scroll through, just stick up your hand and have a little boast. I don't expect anyone to have done this, but has anyone watched it on the toolkit? No, fair enough. But what they've done, I need to email them afterwards, is they have put the updated version of this in the toolkit, but they haven't updated Altitude, so I'll let them know. But the exciting thing for you is you've got this new thing on the tool, so it's always worth being on the live call. Green room. Now, the green room, and lots of you will know this, those of you who do production-y things, Abby, speaking to you, the green room is where all the snacks are. The green room is where all the nice couches are, all the drinks and all the celebrities, and it's a great place to be. It's really fun hanging out in the green room. But what you have to be careful of is that you actually do get people out of the green room and up onto the stage to run things, because the green room is such a comfortable place to be. How do you sort of have a situation where somebody's in the green room? Well, you might start to sort of be so impressed with how useful they are that you want to keep them in your pocket a little bit. And there's a little bit of favoritism going on there. So Jeremy uses the example of, the rest of the team, right, everyone needs to go and do this. And you might say, oh, Norman, you don't worry about doing it. You're fine. You're already there. You don't need to worry about doing it. Everyone else sees you kind of treating them slightly differently. They love that feeling of being in your pocket. That means they'll never probably be able to go and fly because you want to keep them there. So just be aware of that. It can be a hard one to pass on if you have grown that relationship with them where you like them being in your number two, and it just feels really comfortable to keep them there when they could go and fly and lead things themselves. So look at that multiplication stage, unconscious competence. You do. I watch, not you do, I leave. Okay, you do, I'm still there. Jesus, look at Jesus. I do, you watch. The disciples were just there, supporting. I do, you help. They started to muck in. He sent them out. You do, I help. They began to sort of take some responsibility for things. He began to say, look, the authority is going to be with you. Go and set this thing up yourself. I'll be over here. And then you do, I watch. Behold, I'll be with you to the end of the age. He's never not seeing what we're doing and helping and cheering and loving. So we see a perfect example of this in the life of Jesus as well. So that's exciting. Now, I wonder, there's so much in this tool packed in. I could talk about this for a whole day. This is a whole training day. So are there any questions about it before we go and share where we've landed through the altitude sessions you've done so far and what we just looked at then?
I have a question,
Anybody?
Laura.
Yeah, Kate.
It's kind of about I think often it feels like at least for me, I'm only like ever one step or half a step ahead of the people that I'm trying to support, maybe pretend, in a particular thing or whatever it might be. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we might even be in the immersion stage ourselves, so we're having to like train somebody else up, and we've, barely figured it out ourselves. Do you have any? I think my tendency then is to like underplay my own competence because I want to kind of, we're all in this together. And then I think I end up losing sort of credibility in the process, maybe, or undermine their confidence in me because I'm like, well, I'm still learning as well. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts or comments on
Yeah,
that
great
sort of
question.
situation?
Brilliant question. I mean, I'd love to hear in a minute if anyone else wants to speak into this. So just be thinking if you've got anything to add. But my instant response would be, you've already mentioned credibility and competency. And what did we look at? We looked at that meshed with the 5 circles of influence.
Yeah.
So to what extent are we loving ourselves enough to go to spend time, to safeguard time, to become as competent as we can? Both for ourselves to feel confident in it, but also for our team to then have a really good example to follow. So to what extent are we focused in the particular areas where we as a team leader want to be able to set the bar? Any other thoughts from anybody here? I'm sure there's some great insights. Matt, you were sort of thinking then, you had some creativity going on. I can see the cogs.
I put hands up. I'm a little bit behind on the whole course. I've been off for 2 weeks. I'm not caught up yet, so I'm listening and I've got to get
That's
back.
all right. You're taking it all in. Is it making sense so far?
Parts of it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of material in this. Anybody else?
How do you approach a situation where you want to be able to do this with someone, but they may be are lacking a lot of confidence to even give it a go in some examples, in some situations rather. How would you approach that?
Yeah, that's really good. So there are more tools coming up that are about empowering your team. So they might need something else first. But what we're doing with this tool is we're setting out the groundwork, we're setting out the vision for where we want to be able to go with a team member. The important thing is that we are taking them around the square. The speed of that and what we're taking them around in will depend on that interaction you have in the one-to-ones, because you need their buy-in in what space that they are ready to want to grow in. So some people will never be confident public speakers. It's just not the way they're wired. But they may be good at, being able to produce the numbers for the meeting. They may be able to just be able to speak within a team setting rather than actually more publicly. So it's finding what thing they'd like to grow in. And that's a collaborative thing to do together. But we've got lots of tools coming up on how to set expectations and how to motivate and all of those other things as well. So that if this one doesn't feel like you can shift somebody using this tool, use it for the people who can. And then we're going to get to hopefully something that will help them. So remember, it's like a toolkit. So in your toolbox, some tools will be useful for some jobs. But we were doing some DIY. Like you take your tool out and you have a go, and then you think, oh, actually, this is going to need something with slightly different end to it, or I'm going to put a different fixing on it. I'm using all the wrong words, But it's the more tools you have in your toolkit, the more confident you'll be that you can help any person on your team to move forward, as long as they are willing to grow. You can't control that.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I sort of have a situation where somebody thinks they're really strong in an area.
Yes.
And
Yes.
other people have identified it to me. How do you? So other people have said this person is unconsciously incompetent.
Yes. Yeah.
They think they are fine. They think they're great at it. How do you broach that?
That is such a good question. So this person is unconsciously incompetent. Okay. So that's the key, is we hear you say that.
Yeah.
So that means they need the foundation stage. They need to go back to the beginning. So I would want them to see some good practice. Either literally pointing it out very clearly that they need to go and see it, or we're all going to watch this, or I want you to go away and watch this and then think about, what you can learn from it. So it's setting somebody specific something that they can do. Could that work in that context?
Oh, I don't know, because I think so, but also they're very convinced that they are very capable in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would be a huge shock for that person for me to say, you actually aren't. And we need to do some more work around this. This is a good example of this, and this is what I need you to do. I think it would be a big shock. And that person also already feels very undervalued and like they should be paid more and have a promotion and all sorts of things.
Yeah, it's really difficult. I mean, it goes back, doesn't it, to support challenge matrix.
Yeah.
And where does that come from? Have they come from a protect culture?
Yeah.
And remember what we've said before about that is if someone is moving from protect and you want to move them to liberate, I'm just going to pull it up. If you move them too quickly, it will feel like dominate.
Yeah.
So we've talked about that before, but equally, you have to move them. And if they get off the bus, they get off the bus. So it's holding those two things together. I would always start by announcing what we're doing, that reset of expectations. That, okay, guys, this is what we're going to do. We're going to be calibrating high support, high challenge. We're going to look at this tool together, and we're all going to be doing this. We're all going to be on this journey. but here's how we're going to do it. So setting it out. So you could be saying, at every one-to-one now, we'll be looking at what's going well and we'll be celebrating those things, but we'll also always be having something we're working on. And that's everybody, So it's that sense of setting it as doing a reset as a general team principle that we're all buying into and finding a way of doing that in any creative way you can do. So that's what I'd start with, is what culture are we trying to create here? This is the culture. And you can use the videos and the toolkit if you want to share what that tool means. What does this mean to us? And then, here's how we're going to structure those one-to-one meetings. And, maybe start with something smaller. If this is a really big area that they pride themselves on, maybe start with something smaller for them to improve in and build that improvement muscle. Gradually build yourself up. But I would set a 3-month target to be dealing with that in 3 months' time, with perhaps something smaller in the first month to work on. But just creating that culture where we're all working on things, we're all improving with things here.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I used to do in teaching, I'm just thinking as an example, we used to do model essays. Loads of the kids thought, oh, why did you give me an E? Or why did you give, and then we go, right, here's the model essay. And then they'd be like, oh, right. Yeah. Doesn't always work that easily, but that's why you do what I do, you watch really helps. It doesn't have to be it could be that person there doing it brilliantly. We're all going to go and watch that. Or, lesson observations, we'd go around. So we have so much access now to good practice online that perhaps just that bit of planning and research is find someone doing it really well and show them, and maybe do it as a group, or maybe just in that one-to-one space. So yeah, just all of us improving, modeling that you're improving too, showing them and sharing how you're growing. That can really help create the conditions we need.
I had one thought on
Yes, Stuart.
what Kate was saying. I think something I can fall into, and maybe Kate does too, is the perfect can be the enemy of the good. And that can be quite stifling. But two things jump to my mind. The first is John Wesley, before he had his great conversion experience, had a crisis of faith, and said to somebody, one of the preachers he trusted, said, how can I preach about faith if I'm not sure if I've got it? And the guy said, well, preach faith until you have faith. We can teach people what we know and learn together as we go. And one more quote. John Henry Newman, here comes the cat. John Henry Newman said, to be perfect is to have changed often. And that's basically, what we're doing. We grow, we change, and that's how we get to become perfect. I'm going to stop there because he's going to attack the back of my head. So let's get rid of him.
Well, we want to see it. Don't turn the camera off. I love that, Stuart. Thank you for that reminder. And I've missed that, but that's so true. Is we fake it a bit. There's an expression in basketball: fake it to make it. You need to step into the competency that you have. You need to act in the faith that you have in your example, Stuart, is take those steps forward. No one is ever 100% confident about anything. So it's that sense of it's good enough here. I am that one stage ahead. So Kate, we've all felt like that, back to teaching. We just used to say sometimes, with a new course, you just stay 1 page ahead of the kids. 1 page ahead. 1 page is still ahead, It's helpful. And in this ever-changing world, that might be as good as it gets, but we're all in it together. So Stuart, thank you for that brilliant reminder. I love it. All right, I want you guys to all get talking now and then come back with any further questions. I'll be coming first to people we haven't heard from yet, but thank you for those brilliant contributions. So Claire, are we okay to go into a room? Great. Oh, I haven't shown you what you're going to be doing. Let's just go back to the tool. Let me see where we were. So it will be the 2 things I mentioned. Here we are. Sorry, I'm distracted because I've got the boss ringing in. I'll have to call him back, but it's always a bit of a pleasure when that happens. Right, let's have a little look. Here we go. Oh, can you see my screen? Yeah, here we go. So share the screen. What are your tendencies when it comes to developing others? Mark each side of the square out of 5, or share which side of the square you sometimes fall down in. And then, how did you rate yourself in each stage? Do you want to take a little photograph of this slide? Which is your growth stage? Why do people land in the pit of despair? Who needs you to take them around the square? So just take a little photograph of those questions, and then you don't have to do all of them, but just choose perhaps one or two of them, and talk them out. Which are the most poignant ones for you, or what were your questions or ahas in that time? Okay. Over to the groups. Thank you, Claire. See you all the other side.
We're all back, Laura. Not sure if you can see us.
She's muted.
Both Claire and Laura are muted.
You're muted, Laura. Sorry, I was trying to unmute you, but it won't let me. There you go.
Sorry, it was because I was eating Haribo, and I thought
okay.
if people come back and I'm chewing away, it's very unprofessional. How did that go? Because I feel like there's probably a lot to discuss with regards to this tool. So I'm going to go first to Katie. How are you getting on?
Oh no, I don't need to do it. I don't know if I actually did what we were meant to do, but
Yeah, I think you did.
did we? Okay. I was just saying, the thing I found most helpful that you said before was not, you only have to be a page ahead. Is I do find that as a manager, the less in certain disciplines, like you almost have less, and probably in all disciplines, the more managerial you need to be, the less you are doing the things yourself. So yeah, you almost need your team to become more competent in certain areas than you are, because you're not the one doing it in, day out. So in design, for example, software moves on so quick. And if I'm not the one sitting there designing, I'm leading the team. I need my team to have a higher competency in that area than I would be able to practice because I'm not doing it anymore. So that was quite freeing for me to hear you say it, because I'm like, actually, I want to be able to say to my team, go and become an expert in that area because I'm not doing that now.
Excellent. That is so good. I mean, think of the Prime Minister. They can't possibly be excellent in every single department, but their job is to find someone who is and to appoint them. And even just in your team, that's your job as well. So, Katie, that's such a really helpful thing to say is you're releasing those people. But if you think of the 4 C's of the influence model, you can still encourage them to grow in their people skills, their character, their competency in their area, and their relevance, their credibility of being able to show why that's important. You can train them in all of those skills, which you'll have well. So, really good. Excellent. And if it's not you that's ahead of them, who is ahead of them? Who can develop them? And can you perhaps connect them with someone that could develop them, or find a course they could go on to help them keep growing their skills? So that's another good management tool. Really good. Who were you with, Katie? You were in the room with Beth.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Hi, Beth. Anything to add on top of that? Or what was your aha today?
I think I was just saying that I'd like to have more time to be able to do it more, because it's quite hard in a big team to be able to develop everyone as much as you would like. And it's a bit like with kids that initially it takes longer when you're showing them and modeling, and then you will get to a point where actually it's quicker because they're doing it. But you go through that kind of hard bit first where you invest more time, and sometimes that can just be tricky when we're all at kind of full capacity.
Yeah, really good, Beth. And just mentioning time, it's really good if you can resist taking on more things yourself. The more others are doing it in the team, the more you're delegating, the more margin you can keep. I know that's easier said than done, but the better you are able to respond rather than react to things that are coming up. Really good. Matt, is it
Um,
starting to make
and like I
sense?
said, this is kind of all a bit new to me, not quite so far, but yeah, it kind of makes a bit of sense. And we spoke about things like undermining your own competency with your team and others. And yeah, you undermine your competency by kind of downplaying what you know to help others, to make them maybe not feel like they don't know what they do know, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
And how that is actually
Yes.
quite negative to your leadership by
Yes.
even though you
Yes.
think you're helping. We spoke about, and this one's going to resonate with me as well, is the like imposter syndrome, where you actually don't think, yeah, that thing in your head is telling you you don't know nothing, you don't know, you got here by luck, you don't know what you're doing. But the reality is you do know because you've got to where you are. And yeah, it's dealing with that imposter syndrome. I don't know what the answer is. But yes, I think it's a journey for a lot of people. Um, Yes, we spoke about that. And also
Good.
the other thing we spoke about, which I thought was really interesting as well, is like almost like the when you get into a leadership role, the higher up you go in leadership role, you naturally your competency changes. So as Katie said, you have a team around you who know the detail and are the experts, and you surround yourself with those experts, so you can have a more high level, holistic, strategic view about what's going on. So your competencies change, and that can be a struggle as well.
Yes, very good. So often it's inside, isn't it? And we'll come on to a tool about what's going on inside your mind soon. But it's just put that lens on all the time. I am more competent than I think I am. And I only have to be a page ahead. So whatever that mantra is, that might be worth just capturing on this call just now. Rachel, hello.
Right.
How's it all landing with you? Any thoughts to share?
Yeah, I said it was a bit strange for me in some ways because a lot of my team have actually been doing the job far longer than I have. Um, but yes, and often like I'll see them doing a training and there's not actually a lot that I want them to develop. There's been a few things like where we've changed how they do membership. So in those ways I can show them and things like that. But I kind of feel more with my team that the development side of it has come from me creating opportunities for them to develop their strengths. So I've made it more focused, like we've got one team member who's Makaton, so she's really leaning into the Makaton and she's doing workshops and she's doing loads of stuff like that. And another team member is an amazing writer, so she's getting more opportunity, so it's not really something quite so much that they watch.
Yeah, yeah. But that they do more of. And
Oh,
sometimes there
yeah.
comes a stage where they can then also develop someone else as well.
Mhm.
That idea of everyone has a mentor and everybody mentors someone.
Mhm.
So also looking around and thinking, does everybody have someone who's ahead of them? Do I have someone who's ahead of me? That I can, I mean, you just saw that I got a call there from Steve. Every so often we have a conversation, usually because he's on a journey somewhere, he's traveling somewhere, and he likes to talk, he likes to externally process. And I am happy. I'm happy for him to externally process with me because I get to then hear his thoughts. And
Yeah.
he moves me on. He's way ahead. So, but I said to him, I want to hang on to your coattails. Call me whenever you're in
Mhm.
transition. I'm happy to be that person because I always come away with an idea of how to do something differently or how to liberate someone in a way I hadn't thought of before. So
We
it's
are going
worth
around
it.
training together to do that. So
Yes.
they can all watch each other train and see what they do
Yeah.
differently.
Really good. But that's a good discussion to have in your team, isn't it? Is who's developing you right now? Who's ahead? And what can you bring? And maybe inviting them to bring to the session something they've learned that week from someone else. So it's just creating those spaces in the meetings as well. We don't have time to go into another breakout room, but I'm just going to give you 30 seconds or so of quiet. Just look at your notes so far. Consider the tools again. I'll put them up on the screen. What's your takeaway from today? And I'd love just to hear a few of us sharing what our takeaway is from either the 5 circles mesh mapped onto the influence model. So, just You do your bit, but I'll just go in and recap quietly while you're doing your bit. Ignore me if you need some silence. But which of those C's do I need to grow? In which space? Self, family, team? Which one am I undermining myself in, or aren't I cultivating? And then, is there something there which is just pick one main thing to take away? And then with the developing others square, which side of it do either I need for myself, or do I need to give to someone else? Is there someone who I need to show them I'm still watching, or I need to actually help them a bit here, but I've moved away too quickly, or someone I just need to get started on the developing others square. Why don't I take them with me when I'm doing that thing? I like to go on my own, but actually if I take them with me, they'll get to see some good practice. So is there one thing to take away? Stuart, have you got something to share?
Yeah, I do. I was thinking about this when Rachel and I were in the breakout room, and it's almost for me an underlying principle underneath all of this, which is the willingness to develop other people and to delegate. I don't have anybody that I directly manage, but I was reflecting back on priests that I worked with when I was in formation who really struggled letting me do anything for an ostensibly good reason. You know, they felt it was their duty to do their job, and they would be shirking their duty if they gave me a chance. So I said from then on that I didn't want to be that way. That I wanted to let people have a go and to be okay with that and not feel challenged or that I'm going to be usurped in one way or another. So yeah, I hope that's helpful. It's just an underlying current for me.
Really helpful. I just want to throw this out there, Stuart, not to answer now, but just to think about. Um, you just seem to have a lot of insight into contemplative prayer and solitude, and some of those practices from the Catholic Church that are actually becoming really, really popular now. My husband, who's a massive connector, has started doing contemplative prayer. And he's raving about it to everyone. We went out for dinner yesterday and he was just talking to this couple about it. And they were like, wow, yeah, that's really great. So I think you've probably got something to pass on in that space. So just going to throw that out there, something to mull on. Is there any way you could pass on how to do it with others? Cool. Claire, we haven't heard from you, so I'm going to come to you. Anything for you?
I know. I think it came up in my conversation with Kate. I don't think Kate will mind me saying as well, just that reiteration of you only have to be one page ahead. There is competence in that and being secure in that.
Yeah, very good. Holding that together with, I am that a little bit ahead, or I'm happy to answer the question, but I don't have all the answers. Yeah,
And
we
you don't
often
have
feel
to.
like that.
You don't have to have all the answers. Yeah.
I'm going to call time, but if anybody wants to just hang on just for a couple of minutes and share their takeaway, we'd love to hear it, or any questions as well. There's a lot in that. And as I said, do go away and look at the toolkit if you want to for that updated model. The other thing, really, really quickly, I'm sorry, we're over time now, is just to show you is the AI function on the platform, Five Voices AI. And that's what I was doing. When you came back in, I had messaged in an example because I'm a pioneer guardian. I thought I'll choose a different voice. So I wrote, how do I help my nurturer guardian colleague to realize they are unconsciously incompetent? I know that would never happen. A nurturer guardian would never be unconsciously incompetent. But Abby had asked the question, what if people don't realize? And look what I've got. I've got some really top tips there. With AI, you always need to do a check. You always need to reprogram it, perhaps change the question if it's not that helpful. But it's got bespoke, voice driven pointers there in how to answer that question. So do use the Five Voices AI function on the blue button, bottom right in your platform. So Abby, that would be my next step, is go away and give that a go and let us know whether it was helpful or not. So we'll call time on the call. So we'll see you again in a couple of weeks. If you need to hop off, if you don't need to go, please do hang on for a minute or two and let us know your next step.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
See you
Have a great
soon.
day.
Bye bye.
Yay.
Couple. I think
Yay, Kate.
Abby, if you can still hear me, I was going to tell you. I was going to say that one of the things that I do with HR whenever we're having to do like a performance kind of thing is if you just stick the word like consistently into your feedback, it can really help. So you're not like saying, oh, you've never done this thing. It's like, I need to see this demonstrated consistently.
Yes, I'm
Quite
going to
a
write that
nice way
down.
of like softening the fact that like they're not delivering.
Yes.
You're not saying, oh, you've never delivered it, but it's about consistency, even if they have never delivered it, right? But then you could kind of like, it kind of just gives you an in to sort of like, well, let's like, what are some markers we could look for? Or, how can you gather some evidence? Because obviously she's got feedback that says she's not delivering consistently. But I just think that would be my pro tip, but I'll pop it in a message to
That's so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, because it's sort of meeting them halfway, isn't it?
Yeah.
With that. Especially if you like me, probably with my kids sometimes have a tendency, if I'm emotional, to say, you never do this, or always. And actually it's that in between. I'm going to try that. I'm going to use that with my kids.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Pro tip for my future.
Consistent.
Sorry, Claire?
Consistently inconsistent.
So, Kate, was it okay? How did you feel? Oh yeah, have you done the recording?
I'll just